is everybody? How has our day been? Give me 1 second. I am just trying to get my other camera ready. Okay, let's do this. What are we talking about today? Today, I want to talk to you about camera. Sorry, did I just say that? Okay, so today we're going to be talking about traffic penalties in Canada. Traffic penalties in Canada. This one is really, really, really interesting. So, do you know? I know, right? You're wondering what is she going to say? Don't worry, don't worry. I bring you all the juiciness. Okay. Do you know that when you are driving in Canada and you don't carry your driver's license, it will cost you $250? Yes, you heard me right. So you know that moment when the police pulls you, they pull you over and they go, oh, license and registration, please. The minute you don't have it, that is a $250 offense. Yep. Okay. Speeding in Canada has a range of penalties depending on how many kilometers above the posted limit you were going. So let's say you have between 1 to 15 kilometers per hour, you can probably get a 2 demerit on your license. And then maybe anywhere between $81 and $93. I mean, and then it goes up and up and up and up till maybe you have about 25 kilometers above the posted speed limit. Then you can pay as much as $212, and you can get as high as 6 plus demerit on your license. And you say this demerit, the reason demerit hurts is by the time you're going to renew your insurance, you will understand what this demerit will do to your insurance premium. Like sometimes they can rate you like 20% higher than what you paid, or 50%. I mean, depending on the offense that is existing on your license, right? So that's for speeding. Speeding ticket is quite different from camera tickets. So the way it works is sometimes the police can catch you speeding and then they can pull you over. That's when you're likely to get a demerit, or then they can give you a fine too. But the camera ticket is that you're speeding and there was no police there, but the camera caught you. Because they can read your, and of course, they can read your license plates, they can read your address, it brings up all of your details. So if you were caught in a camera offense, then they send the ticket to your house and then you have to go and pay it. This one it has a mandatory court appearance. Like you have to appear in court. There's nothing you can do about it. Once you get the ticket, you have to appear. You have two choices. You can just go ahead and pay your fine directly, or you can choose to go to court and go and contest it. There used to be a case where, they're like lawyers, and then, they'll just take a look at it. All these traffic workers, they just take a look at it, and if you plead your case, somebody might be like, oh, okay, it looks like you have a good reason, we're just going to write it off, or you just go pay half. But now it doesn't work like that anymore. You have to appear in court, so the judge will listen to you. If you plead your case properly, the judge can be like, oh, okay, just pay half, but you have to pay for appearing in court. So it's double money. You pay for the ticket, then you pay for appearing in court. Okay? When you run a red light, let's go to red light. When you run a red light, it depends, right? Typically, like when you're approaching a red light, there's usually a yellow light before the red light. So it is expected that once you are approaching the yellow light, you already start to slow down. If you get to the red light and you don't slow down, let's say you wanted to turn right. You can turn right on red as long as there's no oncoming vehicle. And I'm talking about Canada, right? So let's say you get there and you don't stop. There's something we call the rolling stop. it is expected that you come to a complete stop and take a look at your left to see if there's a car coming. If not, you can run into oncoming traffic. So, but if you don't roll to a complete stop, there is a fine for that. And sometimes you can get as high as $200. What the police officer, if it's a police officer that pulls you up, what the police officer really wants to know is that when you stopped, your car locked, like you completely stopped before you moved again. You can't do rolling stop. You know that rolling stop when you put your leg on the brake and it looks like you're going to stop, but you did not really stop because you saw that there was no car coming and then you just continue moving. You have to come to a complete stop. Okay, so that is about the red light. Now, for stop sign, we have stop signs like at intersections, at different junctions. It just tells you like who should go first. If it's a four-way stop, if it's a three-way stop, if it's a two-way stop. Sometimes three of them have stop, one of them has yield. Or I mean, depending on who has right of way. But I know there's the general belief that when you will come to a stop sign, there's the 2 or 3 second rule. That rule legally does not exist. There's no 3-second rule. The police officer just wants to know that you came to a complete stop at a stop sign before you continued moving. And if you don't come to a complete stop, you are liable to receive 3 demerits, and a $405 fine. Yeah, $405 fine. So it looks like it's not a big deal, but when you put all of that money together, you start to know that I did not come to Canada to come and be paying. I did not come to Canada to come and be paying penalty up and down just because you're not driving the proper way or because you're not obeying all the signs that you should be obeying. So that is something you want to pay attention to. And there's something called excessive speeding. Excessive speeding. You know, I talked about speeding the other time, but this one is excessive speeding. Anything above 50 kilometers per hour. So let's say this road is 100. Like the limit on this road is 100 kilometers per hour, and you are going at 20 kilometers per hour. 120 kilometers per hour, sorry. That's 20 kilometers above the normal range. You're still within. I mean, there's penalty for it, there's demerit. Then maybe that can cost you maybe like $120. But if you're going above 50 kilometers, so let's say the road is 100 and you're driving 160, and trust me, I've seen people like that on the road. Like, you know, you're on 100 and somebody just passes by you, boom, you know, this person, there's a tendency they are doing 150 or there's a tendency that they are doing 160. If you find yourself in a situation like that, it is nothing less than 2005. Like, whether you're caught by camera, whether you're caught by police, it is nothing less than 2,500 Canadian dollars. That is the fine. And of course, you get a 90-day license suspension. Sometimes they can pay your tickets. So maybe like you're doing 2 things together, 2 things wrong, you can get a demerit, you can get a 90-day suspension, and then you still get to pay that 2,500 fine. So you want to be careful. Then I love this one. It's called a stunting ticket. The reason I love this stunting ticket is because both the passenger and the driver can get stunting tickets. So I'm not even the one driving the car, but I'm the one doing the stunt. And what does it mean for a passenger to be doing the stunt? It means as a passenger, maybe you roll down. Let's say you're on the highway or you're driving, and you maybe the person beside you is driving anyhow, and you feel like you just want to shout at them. You roll down and you shout. That's stunting. If you roll down and you give them maybe like the middle finger, it's stunting. Whatever you do, or you bring your head out of the what's it called, the window, and you're talking to somebody, is called stunting, and there's a fine for it as a passenger. Now, as the driver, if you are not the one doing stunting with your car, both of them is, as a driver, you get 3 demerits on your license, but as the passenger, it's $567. So if you are the driver, you pay $567 plus you get demerit on your license. But if you are just the passenger, it's $567. And you ask me, how would they know? If police arrest you, you always have to carry a means of identity. And this is Canada. Everything is electronic. Like once they swap your ID, all your details will come out. So no matter what, they'll be able to find you. So be careful. You don't want to be giving somebody middle finger. You don't want to be shouting at somebody. You don't want to say, "Oh, your head is not correct. Did you say that?" It is called stunting, and it is a traffic offense. When you follow somebody too closely, when you are driving and you're following somebody too closely, it is an offense. So there's a 3-second rule for driving too closely. Is that if the person in front of you steps on their brake, you should be able to have, and I know you would be like 3 seconds is not a lot, but take it. When you're driving, 3 seconds is a lot. You have to leave that 3 second space between you and the car in front of you, so that when the person in front of you brakes, you have 3 seconds to be able to action whatever it is you need to action, especially in winter. Winter is even, we do more than 3 seconds, because sometimes the brake is not braking, and it's not because there's anything wrong with your brake, it's just because the floor is slippery. So you want to be extra careful. But if you follow somebody too closely, it comes with a 4 demerit on your license, and you get a $243 fine. Again, because they understand the impact of you're driving too closely to somebody. If God forbid an emergency happens and they step on the brake all of a sudden, then you're too close to them. You won't be able to stop. If it's something they could have controlled without you ramming into them, you put yourself at risk, you put them at risk. So it is a serious offense. Then car accidents. It's funny, you can actually get a ticket for being in a car accident. So if you're at fault at the car accident, it's a double-edged sword, because your premium will definitely go up. Yeah, once you do the at fault claim on your insurance, then your premium will definitely go up. Then the police can fine you for putting somebody else at risk, because you're the one that caused the accident. So you get higher premium, and then you get a fine from the police, depending on the offense. But your premium can go up for the next 3 years just because you were the one that caused the accident. So when you're driving, you want to like be extra careful. Just be sure you're checking all the things you need to check. Just be sure you're stopping you're stopping properly at a stop sign. You're respecting the red light. You're respecting all the things that you should respect. Failure to report an accident. That fine is as high as 2,000. That your car was involved in an accident and you didn't report it. Sometimes I know there's a misconception of nobody got injured, nothing happened. Just pray that they don't find out. Because if for whatever reason it comes to the attention of the authorities that you actually were involved in an accident and you didn't report it as at the time it happened, there's a $2,000 fine for that. Okay. Hit and run. That one is a $2,000 offense too. And again, because sometimes you hit somebody you don't even know, especially if there's no impact or anything, and somebody at the scene saw it and reported it, it is a punishable offense. Ignorance is not an excuse. I don't know how you're going to know that, but ignorance is not an excuse. And I'm just going to say, be careful. Just be very, very careful. Okay. Next, driving with a suspended license in Alberta. When you drive with a suspended license, your fine is as high as 2,300 Canadian dollars. That's number one. Number two, your car can get impounded. You can get extra 30 days on your suspension. Oh, sorry, extra 6 months on your suspension and 6 months jail. Yes, up to 6 months time, 6 months jail time if you drive with a suspended license, because your license was suspended for a reason in the first place. And if you go back to using it before it is time for you to use it, then you can actually get jail time. If you change your address without letting the authorities know that your address has changed, and maybe there's a ticket or something is $230. That you changed your address and after 6 days you still have not reported that your address has changed is $230. If you drive without insurance, your license can be suspended for 5 years and you can have as much as $5,000 fine. If you run through a red light, you see this running through a red light is very funny. You run through a red light is $900. Just pray you do not cause an accident. And this one, I personally know somebody who ran through a red light. Unfortunately, the police was there and they pulled him over. And then there was alcohol on his breath. He wasn't drunk, but he had drank alcohol and they pulled him over and they impounded his car, suspended his license. He had to pay $2,500 to be able to get the car back, minus the fine that he paid. Then he had to install a breath analyzer in his car. So right now, he still goes about with the breath analyzer. And what the breath analyzer does is simple. That every time he needs to start his car, he needs to breathe into that thing. And then it analyzes his breath and says, oh, there's no alcohol on your breath. You can drive your car. Otherwise, if that thing senses alcohol at all, it will shut down the car immediately. Like immediately. And occasionally as he's driving, maybe like at intervals, like maybe 30 minutes or 40, I don't know, I'm not sure what the interval is, the breath analyzer will beep and say, I need to analyze your breath right now. And he has to. If he doesn't breathe into that thing, within 1 minute his car will shut down. That's the way it was created. So I mean, some things are not worth it. It's just not worth it. The trouble, it is just not worth it. Now, we have something called the yellow lines. I mean, if you live in Canada, you probably have seen the yellow lines. The yellow line is to tell you when you can overtake and when you should not overtake. So on the road, you see the broken yellow lines means this is free for you. You can overtake at any time. But if you have a solid yellow line, it means don't cross. You cannot cross into the other line on a solid line. Yeah, they often use yellow, but on that solid yellow line, you cannot cross into the other lane. And if you do that and you're caught, it is $500. So the yellow lines have a meaning, the solid and the broken. So the broken ones means you can overtake or you can cross into the other lane. The solid ones mean you cannot cross into the other lane. Now, Gladness, I see you're saying that you're going to bus all the way at the moment. Well, if it works for you, that's fine. Some cities are better than some in terms of the transport system. I currently live in Calgary, and in Calgary, trust me, sometimes I want to go somewhere and it's 15 minutes if I'm driving, and if I'm going by the bus, it's 1 hour, 30 minutes. So you want to wear, is it easier for you to learn the rules and live by them, or it's easier for you to go on the bus or go on the train? Your choice. My nephew was supposed to go somewhere this morning, and it's a 23 minutes drive from the house, but it's a 3 hour, 18 minutes bus because of the networking. So I'm going to leave that one up to you and let you make that decision. But okay, let me quickly run through what I have left. Driving too slow is an offense. Yes, it is an offense. So if the limit on the road says 100, except your car is faulty, and you should have your hazard light on if your car is faulty, you cannot drive 60. In fact, you cannot drive 80. You get a ticket for slow driving because you can cause an accident. That will cost you maybe about $400. So your choice. You cannot make a U-turn. Like some places you get there, it already says no U-turn. So if you U-turn there, it will cost you maybe like about $350. I already talked about not coming to a full stop at a stop sign, and that will cost you maybe about $270. Not so much. I'm sure you can afford it. If you pass a school bus when the light is flashing, so when school buses are going, there's a time when you can overtake them, and there's a time. It's written boldly on the school bus, do not overtake when the light is flashing red. If you overtake when the light is flashing red, it will cost you $885 minimum, because it's a school bus, they're carrying children, and they want you to be extra careful with them. Holding and using your cell phone while you are driving, first time offense, is $1,000, with your license being suspended for 3 years. So, your choice. Should you be texting and driving in the first place? No. But and yes, you cannot say I want to use Google Map. No, we have phone holders in cars for a reason. Put your phone in the car, in the phone holder, while you're driving. Your two hands should be on the steering. That is the way it was created. If you park in a bus lane or a bus zone, it is $900. And one of the beautiful things about, I know it can sound like a lot, all these rules, all these regulations, but one of the beautiful things about it is these places, they are clearly marked. Like I said, if you're overtaking a school bus, it is clearly written on it, do not overtake when flashing, when the red lights are flashing. If it's a bus zone, it is clearly, even downtown, it is clearly written there, no parking between 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock, or no parking between 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. This is a bus zone, no parking within 5 meters. This is a we have like an hydro pump that the firefighters use in case there's a fire. It is clearly written there, no parking within 5 meters. So the signs are there all over. For you to be parking there means you're deliberately ignoring it. That's why the fines are heavy. If your glass is too tinted, it's too dark, it's $200, because then nobody can see into it. If you're not putting on your seat belt, it is $200. If your children are not wearing seat belts in accordance with the highway traffic, it is $600. Again, because they're children, and they're like the most important part of this country or this world. Children are like number one when you talk. So you're putting their life at risk. If anything happens and they get hit, there's nothing to protect them, right? So, headlights. If you don't turn on your headlights 30 minutes before dark, so just so that all the other people can see you, that's $200. What's Zara saying? If it is just better to uninstall the Nigerian hard drive before coming to Canada, I'm telling you, I'm telling you, man, it's a lot to get used to. It's not overwhelming. I mean, you learn in bits and pieces. It is honestly not overwhelming, but sometimes when you look at the rules, you understand that it is for your safety. For instance, stopping completely at a stop sign before you turn right, just so you can take a look at the oncoming traffic and be sure that there's no car coming before you turn into that road. Who is it protecting? Of course, it protects you and it protects the person who's coming. Not turning your headlights before dark. Who does it protect? Of course, it protects you, because if a car cannot see you and they ram into you, then there's trouble, right? If you're driving too slow on a road that is supposed to be super fast, then you put yourself at risk and you put all the other people who are on that road at risk too. So at the end of the day, you ask yourself, who does these rules, who does it benefit? Of course, it benefits you. It protects you. It keeps you safe. It keeps your family safe. It keeps your children safe. That's why we have the rules. And this one was, I'm gonna end with this particular story. So one day I was in the office and my boss came in, and then he was leaving in the afternoon. I'm like, "Oh, Jeff, where are you going?" And he said, "Oh, I have to go pay a ticket." I'm like, "Oh, what happened?" So his car registration expired and he didn't renew it. Now they do that. Car registration is very funny. If a police officer is behind you, they don't have to stop you. Once they scan your plates, they can see whether your registration is expired or not. So I think somehow there was a police car behind him and they flashed his plate and they realized that it was expired. So they pulled him over. And he had to pay a fine of $320. Please ask me how much this license, this registration, not even his driver's license, his car registration cost only $90 per year. But he got a fine of $320, and then he still had to go renew the $90. So technically speaking, that's about $410. for something you would have done at $90 without stress. And it goes on your record that you got a ticket for that. So generally it's just about having an idea of what to do, when to do some of these things. I mean, car registration, it's every year, and you can do 2 years. Put an alarm on your phone. And the good thing is, if your registration is expiring in December, it covers you for the whole of December. So you have from December 1 to December 31st to go and renew it. And you don't have to go. I mean, it's something you do online. Most of these things we do online. Even if you got a ticket, you can pay your ticket online. You don't have to go to the office. So they make life really easy for you, for all the things that you need to do, that you don't have to stress. So please, 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 as much as possible, understand the laws of where you live so that you can live at peace. Just, have an understanding. So you're not paying unnecessary money. And not come to Canada to come and be paying, what's it called? Police money, or to be paying tickets money, or to be paying traffic offense. Nah, 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 nah. That was not why I came here. Okay. That will be all for today. Next week, I don't know what we're going to be talking about, but it's going to be something interesting again. And that will be all for now. So yeah, I will probably put up the topic for next week on our social media handles. Please follow us, like, subscribe, so you get notifications when we go live. And then I will see you next week. Okay. Bye for now. Bye.